It is not yet.
No.
Yeah.
So I have invited her to the meeting, sent her the link. I'll try and find out where she is.
Yeah, I think in future, colleagues, when we have announcement to make, we must wait for all internal processes, because we had to break the protocol that time because I thought it was an emergency of the changes. We have to wait. We have to wait for the ATC so that we just don't announce for the sake of announcing. Okay, but that's fine. Can we place the agenda? Can we get a move and seconder for the agenda?
I'll move, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Chance. Move.
I second, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Msikasi, also second. Thank you very much, colleagues. Are there any apologies, Andre?
Chair, I have not received any apologies, Chair. I will just have to double check my WhatsApp and email then, but I will indicate to you if I receive anything.
No, thank you very much. Thank you very much, colleagues. Colleagues, we are dealing with three main issues. Firstly, consideration of the annual performance plan. As part of the committee planning, the committee is required to develop and consider APP Alliance to Parliament mandate of the APP. The Secretariat has drafted an initial proposal based on the discussion during the last strategic planning session, as captured in our 5-year strategic plan. The committee should, in developing the APP, consider in just 1 second. Sorry, colleagues, I am using the phone, it's ringing in between. The committee should, in developing APP, consider in addition to oversight of governance and entities, matters or issues pertaining to development of an inclusive economy as well as public interest. The Secretariat will provide an overview of the content of the APP, focusing on strategic objective and target for the committee's input. The second issue is around the minutes. We have almost 19 sets of minutes that we need to look at. And the third issue is consideration of the study tour as well as the accountability report, which are 2 sets of report. We will consider the first draft of the reports. The intention is not to formally adopt it, but to seek members to into the content and for the inclusion for the adoption in the next meeting. So these 2 last reports is for us to be aware, and we need to conclude on them. And the other one is already late because we should have adopted it last year, July, like we did last year. So these are the issues that are on the table. We will now move into the first issue. Andre, if you can guide us.
Thank you, Chair. Chair Margo will take us through the APP, Chair, with your permission. She will take the committee through the annual performance plan. Thanks.
Good morning, Chair and members. So for this 2026-27 draft that I've developed, a lot of the information is similar in terms of the first 4 points, 5 points basically, from last year's APP, because the parliamentary matters haven't changed subsequently. The only thing that has changed is some of the targets that Parliament has set for this period of time. So currently the targets for that Parliament has set for the 2026-27 financial year that affects our committee would be the submission of an accountability standards report for consideration by relevant governance structures, 90% annual implementation of the oversight priority plan for identified committees. At this stage, we're not an identified committee, but that may change in the near future. And then 100% implementation of the committee planning budgeting framework across identified committees. While we're not an identified committee, we are doing this committee planning and budgeting process today. And then we are a pilot committee for this conducting legislative impact assessments on identified bills or acts and to produce quarterly progress reports. The agreement has been that we would look at our company's second amendment bill which fits into one of the Zondo Commission recommendations to just make sure that the bill or the act is in fact being implemented. So in terms of our updated situational analysis, the DTIC's purpose has remained consistent. We've linked the fact goals that are set out in the DTIC's APP, as well as the DTIC's 9 programs. And then in terms of policy priorities, this is set out in the SONA, in the MTDP. In the Sustainable Development Goals that we contribute to, the Agenda 2063, and then the Reimagine Industrial Strategy and the Southern African Development Community Industrialization Strategy. Then in terms of our own thematic oversight areas, we break our work into 4 areas, namely industrial and spatial development, investment, exports and trade, transformation, competition and regulation, which is aligned to the DTIC's different mandates. So in terms of industrial and spatial development, the committee has been focusing on our master plans and now recently on the industrial development strategy, as well as financing, industrial financing. So this just outlines what the industrial development policy had set out to do. And then we've mentioned that we're also developing the National Cannabis Master Plan, the DTIC. I've just updated that in terms of the aerospace industry, that we are custodian of the National Space Policy, and that recently the Minister has appointed the members of the South African Council for Space Affairs. In terms of spatial economic development, we've listed which SEZs we have oversight over, as well as the industrial parks, the industrialization program. And then our technical infrastructure institutions, which is the National Metrology Institute, the National Regulator for Compulsory Specifications, the South African Bureau of Standards, and the South African National Accreditation System. And concerns they would be focused more on, we're still covering the SABS in terms of governance issues, but also in terms of harmonization, upgrading of the infrastructure and equipment, and maintaining the relevance of these institutions, because they're critical for our own trade and industrialization, as well as consumer and environmental protection. In terms of investment, exports and trade, so just list what areas we would focus on in this space. There's been obviously the focus on the AFCFTA and implementation thereof, as well as changes in the United States, as well as the European Union, which may affect our trading relations due to barriers that they are introducing. Transformation and competition, we note just the main functions there, and then 11 sector codes, which falls under the BBBE, or besides the BBBE generic codes of good practice. So we've been focusing since last year on the financial sector transformation code, and we need to conclude a process around that as well. And then there's obviously the issues with the NEF needing to be recapitalized as well. Then in terms of regulation, those are our regulatory entities that we oversee. And then we've obviously been noting that there's been issues related to some maladministration with the National Lotteries Commission, and then some other governance issues with entities such as the NGB, as well as the NCR, and having vacancies. Then in terms of the state capture, we've basically brought this area to a conclusion with the company's Second Amendment bill or act now being promulgated. And then the CIPC had also been investigating certain companies and had been following up on non-compliance. Grey listing, that matter has been concluded. However, the committee may still wish to continuously just check that the situation doesn't deteriorate and that the CIPC has been implementing its beneficial ownership register effectively. Then in terms of the company regulation, the Companies Amendment Act, so at the time there had been two acts, the one focusing on general amendments to the Companies Act, and the second one focusing on the Zondo Commission's recommendation. So there were still matters that were still outstanding, which the previous committee had requested the DTIC to come back to us on, related to things like the gender pay gap, the resolution of remuneration report disclosure issues, consideration integrity 5, and beneficial ownership provisions amended in 2022 that might be in conflict with other sections of the Act. And then also that we should ensure that it is being implemented as it's being promulgated. In terms of consumer protection and credit regulation, so we still have an outstanding or a piece of legislation that was enacted, but it hasn't been promulgated yet, being the National Credit Amendment Act of 2019, which was the committee bill at the time. And then we've also got concerns around the functioning of the existing debt review system, with a number of issues being raised during our committee bill process, but also during the 5th Parliament about the functioning of that system, particularly in terms of the consistent application by courts as well as the NCT on those agreements that need to come to between the debt counsellor and the creditors. Yeah, and then there'd also been a commitment by the DTIC at the time to continue reviewing the credit policy, as there were other matters that fell outside of the subcommittee or the committee's process at that stage. There's been ongoing issues about the NCR and prescribed fees that have remained unchanged over years, which might affect their bottom line. And then the critical vacancies that I mentioned previously. In terms of intellectual property, we need to follow up on the implementation of phase 1 of the National Intellectual Property Policy, focusing on patents and designs. As a result, there was supposed to be 2 bills being brought to Parliament regarding the Patents Act and then the Trademarks Act as well, and Designs Act, which has not come yet. And then in terms of the copyright and performance protection, just to update the committee that there has been a Constitutional Court ruling on the matters, and that the fair use and most exceptions within those 2 bills have been ruled to be not arbitrary and having met constitutional requirements. There is a ruling that certain sections, namely subsections 12B 1 to 5, are unconstitutional. So we are expecting that it should be referred back to Parliament to amend it in accordance with the court's ruling. And then the other issue, members, is the in relation to the Copyright Amendment Bill, the Marrakesh VIP Treaty is quite important for the blind. And it's a treaty that we are yet to ratify, but can't ratify until the Copyright Amendment Bill is enacted. The matter is in relation to indigenous knowledge, the Intellectual Property Laws Amendment Act. Those matters have not been resolved yet. Then in terms of gambling and lotteries, as you would be well aware of the NLC's alleged corruption and maladministration, that those cases are still ongoing. So, and the committee has been monitoring that over time. Then the fourth national lottery license has been finalized. So there's still the issue around the NGB. I believe the board was being appointed by the minister. And also just noting that the mediation committee had met and concluded its work, but that the bill would still need to be considered by both houses to be passed. And then there's the matters around the outstanding gambling legislative gaps in terms of horse racing, bingo, online gambling, and FAFI that need to be resolved. In terms of liquor regulation, there was a review of the liquor policy, and a liquor amendment bill had been drafted, but then retracted after COVID, with the intention that a more comprehensive bill and set of measures be established. Subsequently, the liquor amendment bill, a private members bill, was tabled, which focused on prohibiting the advertisement, promotion, or product placement of liquor to promote liquor or the consumption of liquor, to reduce the normalization of alcohol and liquor consumption, particularly amongst the youth. The committee has had initial engagements with Ms. Menti as well as other government departments. Just noting that in the 2026 SONA, the president had referenced this concern and had also stated that stricter regulation of alcohol-related advertisements and promotions should be introduced. The committee needs to just finalize its decision regarding the motion of desirability of the bill tabled by Ms. Menti. In terms of budgetary and governance concerns, the committee has been covering a number of governance challenges, as well as particularly the vacancy rates, particularly amongst leadership and executive management positions. Noting that the minister has made some progress in filling those vacancies. The backlog is also resolved. As then also just noting that we are continuing to monitor the SABS and the NLC in relation to the governance issues. So this section, members, is quite critical that we get your inputs and your buy-in for our targets. So the key performance indicators have remained the same from last year. It's just that the targets may have changed slightly based on the fact that it is an election year, and that which might affect the amount of time we've got available to do everything. So just noting, so the first key performance indicator, Chief, so I'll probably stop at each one and then just get input as we go along, if that's okay with you. Okay.
Yeah, you can proceed.
Okay, Chief. The first indicator is the number of engagements with the DTIC on governance and performance issues. So that would cover things like our strategic plan or annual performance plan, our annual reports, and then we are expected to do quarterly performance of the DTIC. So for last year, we did 5 meetings, mainly because there was a revised APP during the year. And then this year, I've noted a target of 4, of which in quarter 1, we did 1 one of the quarterly reviews, as well as the APP at the time. And Q3, we need to do the Q4 that's outstanding. And Q3 would be the annual report, and then Q4 would be the second and third quarters for this financial year. And then the second one is the number of engagements with entities regarding these strategic plans or APPs and implementation thereof. The committee had, so last year we did 18. The committee had made a decision in the previous process to see entities twice a year. But due to the factors I've mentioned in terms of time constraints, and also the switch to the number of matters of public interest we need to be focused on, I've reduced it to 19 for this financial year, with the spread of 6 that we did in Q1, and then 4 annual reports in Q3, and in Q4, 9 quarterly reports. Performance indicator was the number of engagements on progress in implementing the Commission on State Capture Recommendations Plan. As these have been concluded, I've suggested that we remove that target for the year. And then this one relates to the monitoring of the NLC's cases. So last year we did 1. And then this year we've planned 2, of which 1 we did in Q1, and then Q4, which would be January to March, we would schedule a second meeting. Chair, can I just get any input on this subsection?
Chair, Mr. Chance raised his hand.
Thanks,
Margot,
Andre.
I suggest members make notes. We might never conclude if you do that, because they might want to debate everything else. I don't know. Mr. Chance?
No, I just wanted to say it looks good so far.
Okay, let's proceed. If there is anything, I'm sure members are free to ask so that we don't waste time.
Okay, Chair. Then the second subsection relates to improving oversight of the service delivery. The first KPI is the number of engagements with the DTSC or its entities on industrial policy, the implementation of master plans and industrial financing. Last year we did 6, and we've planned 10 for this year, of which 2 we've done this previous quarter, and then 4 for this current one, and 2 for the outer quarters. Then on SEZs and industrial parks, last year we didn't have any particular meetings on those, but this year we've scheduled 4 for the year, 1 each quarter. And then on transformation, we've had 4 in the previous year, and we've scheduled 2 for this financial year, 1 in this quarter, and then 1 in the January to March period. In terms of trade, we've had 2 previously, so we'll have another 2 for this financial year. 1 we've done in the previous quarter, and 1 will be done in the next one. Because we did our study tour this year, we didn't schedule site visits, unless, I think Andre said there might be budget for a short one, which might be like a day trip or 2 rather than going to province, but we'll need to just double check our budget for that one. And then of stakeholder engagements in priority areas. So we had 4 in the previous year. This year, we've planned 6, of which we've done steel and metal fabrication master plan and the sugar industry one. We've currently, this term, we did the colloquium on our IDS, as well as the engagement with the film and TV production industry. Then we are planning a follow-up with the film and TV industry in next quarter, and then the financial services sector charter in the fourth quarter. And then in terms of joint committee initiatives, Chair, we did 2 previously, and we're supposed to do 2 this year. The financial services sector charter would be 1 with the standing committee on finance, but we haven't identified a second one with another committee that then in terms of statutory appointments,
Chair, sorry,
lastly,
can I just quickly ask a question?
yes.
Margot, the question about the joint meetings, would the meeting that we're planning with the Department of Water Affairs and Environment later this month, on the 21st, I think, not qualify as a collaboration with other committees?
We'd have to invite the other committees to join us for it to be that, Mr. Charles.
So they haven't been invited.
Yes, so it's just a matter of deciding which ones we'd specifically want to target to include a second committee or more.
The question, Margot, is why don't we include it so that we know that?
Would you like to include it, Chair?
That was being proposed.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Chair, there's one complication here. Sorry if I may just dwell on this point. If you look at the parliamentary program,
Yes.
the NA has a meeting scheduled for that, mini plenary is scheduled for that morning of the 21st. I'm not sure whether you've had a look at that, Andre and the chair, to see whether we can get a LOA, leave of absence, from that NA meeting so that we can carry on with our committee meeting on that Friday.
No, look, the team, I'm not worried about specific dates because the team is able, within the program, they're able to move around and then they can inform us. I think what we need here, it's a principled decision on engaging with the water department, and then the team will work around the dates because we will never finish if we choose dates like that.
No, I understand.
Okay. Let's proceed.
Okay, but we should consider adding that one too.
Yes, we must add it.
Okay,
Yeah.
Chair.
Then the
Okay.
date is something that you manage, as we normally do. When there are changes, we inform us on time. Okay, proceed.
Sorry, Chair, I'm just capturing it. SEC. Okay. And then last year we did the appointment process for the chairperson of the NLC. However, there isn't any statutory appointments that we're aware of for the next financial year. In terms of the monitoring and tracking tool for the committee business, didn't conclude that last financial year. So this financial year, the target will be that we develop it this quarter and then start implementing it for the outer quarters. Then in terms of reviewing the implementation and impact of key legislation, we've had 1 meeting in the previous financial year on the progress in implementing outstanding legislation, and we've scheduled another one for this financial year, or proposing to schedule one in the next quarter. Then in terms of identifying and assessing legislation or aspects of legislation to be reviewed by the committee in terms of their effectiveness, for that pilot project, we have got one for the implementation of the Company's Second Amendment Act, and that will be in a written format survey sent to the department and to the CIPC just to respond to key matters listed there, and there will be an administrative report drafted on that matter. In terms of percentage of tabled legislation processed, as mentioned previously, the Liquor Amendment Bill was tabled last financial year. We have started the processing thereof, but we'll now need to conclude it in this financial year. Then there has been the need to pilot the utilization of digital tools developed in relation to oversight, lawmaking, and public participation. We've proposed that for this financial year that we do a digital survey on the effectiveness of the debt review mechanism or system. And so for next quarter, the proposal is that we develop a proposal and a draft questionnaire to assess this, and then to issue surveys online using these digital tools to debt counselors, credit providers, and other persons from the public who've undergone the debt review process. Then in terms of increasing stakeholders' access to participate in our processes, where we have legislation, Chair, we'll do a call for submission. Obviously, there had not been one for the previous financial year. Then in terms of call for submissions from relevant stakeholders on matters of public interest, where the committee identifies a particular matter that they would like broader public comment on, then we can do that as well. Chair, I'm just waiting for the statistics of how many media statements we had issued. But then I think we'll probably need to just change the format from a percentage to an actual number. Then publishing an accountability and oversight report on the committee's work. Last year we issued one in July, and so this year it's one of the reports being tabled today for consideration. In terms of capacity building activities identified and implemented, we didn't identify any last year, but we'd like to identify one this financial year and schedule it for Q4. Its attendance of conferences or workshops, there were 2, and that's now been placed in Q2. And the number of study tours conducted, we've just concluded our Japanese study tour, so that's also a target there. Then Chair, just to note that we just need to get our budget figures from our budget office. Then we'll be able to conclude, just fill that in afterwards. Yeah, I'm done for now.
Thank you, colleagues. Are there any comments on on our APP? The things that we need to look at and the things that we want to add. Any comments, colleagues?
Chair, I'm unable to raise my hand.
Honorable Gama.
Thank you, Chair. No, thank you very much. Mine probably is a general discussion, and I'm looking at the work that the committee has been doing, which I want to term it activist work, in terms of some of the very good things that this committee has been doing of late. I can name the film intervention, for instance, that we have been having, the island view work that we did. There's quite a number of specific interventions that we've been looking at. We're talking, for instance, about the the airlines industry, the fly SAF air work, the data issues, etc., etc. And the IDC, the NAFCOC, and all of that. My sense is that that is a lot of good activist work. It's not business as usual. I know that part of what we need to do is to do oversight, but I think the TTIC group is uniquely placed to do a lot of other things in the economy. My sense is that there is a next phase of our work that we should look at for the time that is coming. It should not be business as usual, but I think we should move progressively from measuring activities to measuring impact. So the reports, therefore, and the objectives in the APP should probably differ going forward. Unfortunately, I did not have and I probably still do not have the presentation that Margot is presenting. For some reason, I have not seen it on my email. But I think we could do a little bit far more. In terms of, as a committee, in terms of the things that we should track going forward. For instance, we could track growth and investment in the economy. We could track industrialization and productive capacity. We could track transformation and ownership, as an example, but have actual, or what you call it, put indices, put actual numbers that we would like the department to work on, so that we could increasingly distinguish between leading indicators and lagging indicators. Leading indicators is when we come in after something has happened and we say, well, this is what has happened. That is not really impactful in terms of decision making, but we could start to anticipate what kind of things that we want to do. So this committee could say we want to look at the number of factories that are opened in the country. We want to look at the number of jobs that are protected by the incentive schemes. Or we want to look at localization. For instance, in the automotive, one of the things that happens is that we have the APDP, whatever it's called, the names keep changing. And then the NACAM? NACAM says, look, we're stuck at 38%. But in fact, we should be at 60%. And the government continues to give the incentives, but there's no one who's following up on the localization and the employment creation thereof. So what I'd like to say is that building on the work, Chair, that you've been leading us on, which I think is good and great work, we should look at the next phase of how this committee wants to keep the TTIC group accountable. We don't want to do the work of the executive, but I think we should guide them in terms of what is our expectation, and our expectation should be driven by impact. We should not come in when all is said and done and measure that. We should also look at what are the lagging indicators. I could do a little bit more and put my thoughts in writing, Chair.
I think
Just yeah.
it's a very good point, which we'll appreciate if it can be followed by some write-ups, because you are quite correct. And I tried to make this point to some few colleagues who were complaining that were all over. I was telling them that DTI is the nature of business. If you talk about consumer issues, you'll find us there. If you talk about industrial issues, you'll find us there. If you talk about private sector issues, you'll find us there. So I accept that proposition. And secondly, there has been some discussions and proposal about some indexes. It's a pity, Honorable Chance, that you've shipped Honorable Mdluli, who had proposed something, and also Honorable Tring had proposed something. I hope we can go back to those discussions, Margot, and just understand what are those indexes that our teams had proposed and how are they possible, given the fact that we have limited budget to probably develop systems, but will depend on the department, guiding the department to develop those. I think it's a second area that we need to be looking at. So we really need to look into those issues and probably add them. So how long, Mr. Honorable Gama, it will take you to gather your thoughts together so that our document is complete and is processed?
Chair, if you give me about 3 or 4 days, maybe till the end of the week, the first, I could start doing something probably tomorrow morning and see whether I can get it out maybe by Friday.
No problem. I think that's acceptable. That's fine. Any other comments, colleague?
Yes, I have a comment, Chair.
Yes, Honorable Chance.
Just getting back to the earlier point, I understand that the new portfolio assignments have been ATC'd, and Kate Christie, our new colleague, is on the platform. So I'd just like to welcome her. Maybe she could introduce herself to the committee. Would that be in order?
Yes. Would appreciate that.
Thank you very much, my colleagues. I'm not actually going to put the video on because you wouldn't like the sight you beheld. I've got hair color in my hair, just being vulnerable and transparent. But I'm thrilled and delighted and privileged and honored to join what I see as the most important committee in Parliament. I'm sure you'll all agree, because our biggest passion and drive should be job creation, and a growing economy is the only environment in which jobs can be created. My constituency is Khayelitsha, and I would say at least 70% of my people are unemployed. And they're talented, they're clever, they're motivated, amazing people. I mean, I've managed to create a few opportunities for them, which they've grabbed onto. I think there's nothing more demoralizing, depressing, and just dissatisfying than being unemployed, than sitting at home, not being able to contribute or add value to society. I think everybody wants to use their talents and skills to make a difference, and then, of course, be rewarded for it financially. So that's my goal in joining you, and I'm going to be humble and teachable and do much more listening than speaking in the beginning. But I've already got quite a few things to say when I listen to you. However, I think I'd serve best by listening first and then starting to contribute. So thank you. I also feel very chuffed to be working with Toby. One of my colleagues in our parliamentary research unit said, Toby is not a sexist. And that's a big compliment, Toby, for politicians, because in the political world, usually it's very strong men who rise up. So he has great respect for women around him, and very talented and clever person. So thank you so much. And thank you for introducing me, Toby. Bless you all. Looking forward to working with you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Christie. This you are indeed correct. This is a very important committee. So we unlike the other committees here, we don't really call lots of orders and this and that. We spend a lot of time thinking about the problems of the country and how they can be resolved. So Honorable Toby will tell you when you come here, at least we come prepared. No member comes unprepared because it's a bit difficult because we give you time here to express yourself, your thoughts, your party's policy, and we get to test those things, and then we run this committee through consensus. You are welcome, and we wish you all everything of the best. Thank you very much.
Can I just carry on with a couple more points?
Of course, you can proceed.
Thank you. So on the index, Mr. Mdluli, remember he's not lost to our committee. He's still an alternate. And I'm sure that he would be more than willing to work on this index with the committee secretariat in the coming months. The second point is I'd like to just raise something which I think came out quite strongly at the colloquium last week, which is the lack of alignment between localization policy and BEE policy. And if you look at the BEE policies, there's nothing in it which relates to localization. And the point that was made by FAMISA last week, that too much emphasis is placed on price, yes, at the expense sometimes of long-term industrial development. Certainly in the pharmaceutical industry, that appears to be the case, and we've seen it potentially in the electricity transmission program. So I think that if one looks at the Public Procurement Act, which does have some elements that the DA does disagree with, and as you may know, the Western Cape is challenging its constitutionality. But notwithstanding that, I think it's important that this committee takes the issue of localization, industrial development, and BEE and tries to find some commonality between them, because at the moment, they're not aligned at all. And it seems that BEE is trumping localization in most instances.
Thank you very much. I hope the team will capture that, those differences. Are there any further hands? So what I want to add, without trying to anticipate what Honorable Gama will do in his write-up, because I didn't request, I just need to maybe deposit. After our last engagement, the colloquium, it became clear that we'll need to do a lot of work around the pharmaceutical and med tech and related issues. That is as one. Two, we do need to look very closely and do some work around the public procurement policy as it relates to what needs to be done. So we might need to engage National Treasury on some of the issues that have been raised, not being the first time by the medtech companies, but also generally about what South Africans are feeling about some of the reforms that are being proposed in the public procurement policy. So I just thought I should add those two areas, and I'm not sure, Margo, you'll see where you can add them as areas where we've got an interest to take a closer look. And lastly, there is some work that we did not conclude, and I wouldn't want it to disappear. And some of the work has been referred by some members. We still have not concluded our work and report on the banking sector. We had said that we will, to conclude the financial sector, we'll do some work around the fund managers, the insurance, and other subsectors of the finance, so that we have a comprehensive report in that regard. So I don't want us to lose that, including just to make a submission, a final report on the banking and some of the proposals. It's one area that must not be lost. The issue of the airlines, there are some progress, but we've not concluded that area in a manner that will give us certainty in terms of how to deal with those issues. So we don't need to drop that topic until it is properly concluded, including the data issue. As I said previously in the portfolio committee, that we are being engaged on the side by the telecom companies after ICASA had acted on what we advised. There is some dissatisfaction which will lead into court areas. So it's one area that we don't need to lose our attention on. So we need to not move it from the rather. And other members can also suggest other critical issues. And then finally, there were issues we were picking up of the collusion. Sorry, we are now using a lot of this word of collusions between the auction companies in the space. So we do need to do some work around this auction, including, the scale, because our country is literally for sale through auctions now. There's some fundamental issues that we need to look at. For instance, the auctions, these online auctions are open globally. So if you go to auction, Honorable Chance, for a building in Cape Town, you are likely to compete with someone who's sitting with dollars in the US or in Singapore, who will take the property. And, other laws of the Republic are being undermined, firstly. But secondly, so we are not given equal opportunities as South Africans to have a first bite, So we might need to look into this thing of the auctions and how open these auctions are, especially on certain areas that have to do with some of the strategic assets in the country. So we do need to look into that issue and the issue of the collusion that is happening, which is being flagged. I think, Andre, I must have given you some submissions that we got. I don't want us to lose that issue. Let me open for others so that we can conclude on this issue.
Mr. Khoza, Chair.
Honorable Khoza. Yes, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Chair, and members for the contribution. We appreciate, Chair, the work that has been done, the efforts that have been put together to bring us close to the work that must be done, what is expected. You will agree with me, Chair, that amongst other things, expected from us as a committee is to ensure that we execute the mandate and ensure that our APPs are strengthened in order for us to achieve our desired goal. Chair, I would like to focus strongly on whether the targets are ambitious enough, measurable, and also whether the outcomes that we have set, are we going to achieve them, and are they capable of demonstrating real impact rather than merely recording that our committee have held engagements. The APPs itself, Chair, states that Parliament seeks strong oversight, accountability, and impactful lawmaking. But I will cite some example, Chair, which maybe perhaps you will also guide us as to what was the motive behind, or what is the desired goal in terms of what is said to be the case here. The APP measures several areas by the number of engagement held. I'm having a problem with that, Chair. For example, the target is for engagement with the DTIC on governance and performance issues compared with the baseline of 5, while engagement with entities on their strategic plans and APPs increased from 18 to 17. Chair, my criticism or my inputs on this one is why does the APP measure oversight primarily through the number of engagement rather than the actual outcome and improvement resulting from those engagements. Will agree, Chair, that holding a meeting does not necessarily constitute effective oversight. A committee can hold numerous briefings without achieving corrective actions, consequence management, or improve service delivery. We've had a lot of meetings, more especially with the DTIC. We've raised a lot of issues. You'll agree with me, Chair, sometimes physical meetings, where as a committee we felt like we're not taken serious, where we felt like meetings are held, but the outcomes are not satisfactory to the committee. Therefore, what measures are we putting in place this time around, Chair, to ensure that it's not only about meetings, it's not only about ministers or the deputy ministers attending our meetings or the officials attending our meetings, but it is merely about accountability, the deliverables. What are we expecting them to deliver? And if not so, what measures are we putting in place? I will also move said that I'm recommending perhaps that the percentage of committee recommendations implemented should also be noted, and the number of unresolved matters closed. The percentage of executive responses received within stipulated period also needs to be put in place as our indicators amongst other examples. The number of corrective actions as a committee that we have implemented can also be indicators, tangible indicators. And lastly, as an example, we can also include the measurable improvement in entity performance following the committee's intervention. So I'm just citing those examples, Chair, so that as we maybe perhaps try to rework the document, maybe some of us can be able to understand as to really what is our expectation, what is the work being done, and what really do we expect to achieve as the committee. Chair, let me also take you to perhaps page 41. Under the governance and performance targets, target 4, engagement with the DTIC on governance and performance issues, baseline 5. So, Chair, the target is less ambitious according to my observation, experience, and also my research on this. I'm saying this because the previous year's baseline, if you compare with the one that we're having now, I'm trying to understand reducing the target from 5 engagement to 4 is difficult to justify when the committee itself identifies governance and performance problem within the DTIC entity. Maybe perhaps, Chair, we can have a discussion around that as to what could have been the case in question. Why has the committee reduced the target from 5 engagement in the 2025-2026 to only 4 in the 2026-2027, particularly when governance challenges remain unresolved? We can name a lot, but not for this platform, Chair. So the target, Chair, according to my understanding, is that they should be increased. More importantly, change from merely counting engagement to measuring whether identified governance problems are actually resolved. We still have a lot, Chair, of unresolved issues there. So maybe if we can also take that into account. Chair, also on page 42, on the NLC oversight, target 2, engagement to monitor investigations and prosecution relating to the corruption and maladministration at the NLC. Chair, 2 engagement may be inadequate for a matter involving corruption and maladministration. The target measures the number of meetings, not whether investigation progress, prosecution occurred, or accountability is achieved. You will guide the Chair after my submission.
Thank
My,
you.
my
Sorry.
understanding, Chair, is that perhaps if I can pose the question to the committee, is that what measurable outcome is expected from these 2 engagements, and how will the committee determine whether the NLC has actually addressed corruption and maladministration? I propose, Chair, that we introduce indicators measuring progress in investigations, disciplinary actions, prosecutions, recovery of funds, and implementation of corrective recommendation. I'm also submitting that, Chair. Briefly also, Chair, under 40, I think it's 43, industrial policy, master plan, and industrial financing. I'm sure if we're moving towards that. I think it's target 10. Chair, I want to check, Chair, although the numerical target increases in this case, but the key performance indicator still measures engagement rather than industrial outcomes. It is cited, Chairman, my understanding is that the 10 meetings do not demonstrate that industrial policy is working. What will be the difference in the economy after these 10 engagements, Chair? Where are the targets for jobs, investment, manufacturing outcomes, and industrial capacity? Chair, as I sum it up, maybe we'll also bring it later if there are any other platform for this. I want to also draw your attention, Chair, to the I think it's page, I think I've noted. I think it's page 48, if not mistaken, Chair, the public participation. I want to check, Chair, publishing a call for submission does not equally meaningfully shows any public participation according to my understanding. How does the committee measures whether ordinary citizens, workers, and also our rural people, the SMEs, and the marginalized communities actually participated? So my input in this one, Chair, is that I recommend that we measure the number, diversity, and the geographic spread of submissions, and also our public hearings conducted, stakeholder representation, and how submission influence the final legislation. I'll pause it there, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Khoza. I had to give you more time. You've not been participating, and sometimes we are getting lost in translation here. So what we are dealing with now is APP. So what you are actually asking, like literally 80% of your questions, is more like outcomes. After having planned these things, so you will see at the end, we'll discuss what is called an accountability report, where we say we did these 4 things and here is the outcome of those things. So where we can now quantify exactly what we've been able to achieve. But unfortunately here is, because it's a plan, we have to say we are planning to see COSA 3 times a year. And then we can say, if I'm a doctor, the first appointment, I checked this, and the second appointment, I checked this. And then by the time we'll write a report, we can no longer say we see you 3 times. We say, we've assessed you, here are the results. You need to go and do 1, 2, 3. That's where we are. So let's take this as a plan. One, but where probably you have issues that are correct is when you say there's certain things we can use as measure, and I'm sure Margo will come in there to see whether or not some of those variables that are being raised, can we use them as some of the measurement towards when Zoe puts together the accountability report, it then talks to the things that we said we're going to measure. I think that's where we are. But let me allow you, Margo, to come in to respond.
Thank you, Chair. I think some of the issues like what Mr. Gama and Mr. Khoza is raising, we can look at adding a section on method of work. taking the inputs in and also then raising the how we get to the outcomes. So like we're doing X, Y, and Z with the intention to achieve this. Because I think the challenge with the APP targets is it has to be something that we're in control of and that we can measure. So I think some of the matters like public petition, the level of inclusion is something we can maybe look at. But we'll just need time to think about how to formulate the Chair. I think some of the issues that the committee does raise tends to be high level and doesn't necessarily talk to rural. For instance, like if we're talking about standards and say there was a legislation on that, it wouldn't necessarily be everybody would have an interest to raise concerns around. But if we're talking about gambling, consumer protection, then we expect there should be definitely diversity across the board. So I think it also depends on the topic, to what extent we expect like a very diverse group of people interacting with us. So then we'll await Mr. Gama's input, and then we'll see how we can include it in terms of a method of work, if that's satisfactory. And then include matters of like outcomes that the committee is trying to achieve. Because I think when we targeted the APP, it focuses more on how we are contributing to Parliament's APP. And hence the targets are focused the way they are at this stage. And then, Chair, in terms of the matters that you raise, the pharma and medtech is definitely something we can add as and possibly a joint with the public the local public procurement matter, is something we can raise as stakeholder engagements and or joint committee matters that we can include in this. I think just when it comes to public procurement and us needing to engage with the Standing Committee on Finance, we just need to be mindful of the statutory requirements so that we don't overbook in particular time periods when we know that we're quite busy. And then, Mr. Chance, we will probably have to engage Mr. Mkhululi on the indices. And yeah, I think that's it from my side for now. I'm not sure if my colleagues want to add anything.
Chair, if I might, we will look at the input from members, May Chair, and we will revise accordingly and present a version for the committee's consideration at the next meeting, if that would be an order, Chair.
Okay, so we can approve it subject to.
We can.
Yeah, I think let's approve it subject to the amendments.
Yes.
That are possible, with the understanding that we've tried to build that this is our plan and approach on how on the things that at least as a bare minimum sometimes we do extra things than the plan. But so this is the bare minimum that we expect us to have completed, which guides us to ensure that what to prioritize. Members, here is our plan, even though there is a bit of input there and there, but probably we're on the 95, 97%. Can I get the mover and seconder subject to inclusion of some of the things that are critical? The team will look into those and then we'll just bring a plan for noting once everything has been done so that we don't miss our deadlines. Can I get a mover and seconder for the plan as amended?
Thanks, Chair. Just to come in.
Yes, Honorable
I
Khoza.
didn't appreciate your dismissive remarks. It
Yeah.
shouldn't be the case, more especially after a member have inputted and have raised critical question. Your secretariat have guided us accordingly. You shouldn't do that, Chair. Don't be dismissive as if we are not sure of what we are dealing with. I've posed the question. We are dealing with a lot of governance issues in the DTIC. Compared to the previous years, we have reduced from 5 to 4. What might have been the justification in that? You are correct. We are doing this is our annual performance plan. There's nothing untoward to ask as to what is our expectation towards what we are planning. And we cannot count numbers of engagement as if that is meaningful. But we must have our own plans in terms of what we expect these entities to at least achieve. You come here with a very bad attitude to dismiss us as if we are not sure of what we are dealing with. If there's any input that you want to raise, please bring it in a manner that shows respect and appreciation that we are members of this committee and members of parliament equal to you. We appreciate what Margot have said and what Andre have also contributed to say. They'll look into it. They'll also make addition to what we've submitted in this committee. So please stop that attitude, Chair. We don't appreciate it, and it must stop here.
Thank you very much, Honorable Koza. I apologize for if you feel offended, but the point is, I am trying to make here is not to dismiss anything, except that, for instance, if you raise that specific issue as you did, you will recall that when we started as the committee on governance, almost everyone was acting. And the situation has completely changed 2 years later. So if we used to have 10 meetings then, we have 3 meetings now. It's because we are dealing with the legacy issues and what is remaining for us to deal with. And we move to other things because we don't have time, we're thin. There's certain things that we have to deal with. So on governance, I can tell you for sure that we can bring a report when we came in July 2024. And now you'll see that the picture has completely changed. So if we used to have more meetings when we started, we have less meetings now. That's basically the explanation. And secondly, it has been our approach to engage. So when I try to say, and you'll see this, the point I'm raising, so that you can understand, I'm not dismissing you. I'm saying to you, from this plan, at least fortunately in the same meeting, from this APP, you will see how we then draft a report which begins to give you details what has been achieved, because these numbers are not numbers in vain or numbers with no essence. We say 4 number of meetings, but then when we report, we then give a report. What are these meetings about? What has been achieved in line with the strategic objective of the committee? So there is no dismissal except to explain that some of the things we are raising are the issues of the report, the outcome, not the planning. So I don't think that it's correct that I dismiss you, but if you feel like that, I apologize, because I don't like dismissing people. I like ideas to flow, but as a chairperson, I also have a responsibility to guide the meeting. Otherwise, we can easily degenerate, put things where they don't belong, and then I don't think that I would be doing my job if I do that. So I think that's the essence here. So, and the team has said, and that's why I said, there are some of the things which are measuring instrument we have proposed, which is why we're saying as we approve this, we'll do so taking into account those things. And Margot and Andre are saying they will look into those issues. But I don't think you must feel dismissed, but you must also feel that you are guided about where certain things belong in your input. Because once you start thinking that your input is everything correct, then we'll be operating from different worlds. I don't think we must work like that. So let's just help each other and guide to ensure that we can arrive at a particular point. Because where we are, we're just trying to say, in your input, what belongs to where, and that's the only point, colleagues. But let's move on. Can we get the mover and seconder as amended with other things that will be added by the colleagues?
Chairperson,
Yes, Honorable Msikatsi.
I move for the adoption.
As amended. Thank you very much. Can we get a seconder?
I'll second.
I second.
Thank you. The proposal is highly recommended. We can move to the next item.
Thank you, Chairperson. We will look at the minutes, Chair, according to the agenda. If we can proceed with adoption of the minutes, Chair. If Margo can just flag the first set of minutes, Chair.
Can't we do the minutes last?
We
Was
can.
it-
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can.
let's swipe the items around. We'll just deal with the reports. Yeah, the minutes because are many, so they will
No problem.
exhaust us. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's
Okay.
finalize the reports.
Chair, we're just on the study tour, then the study tour, or do you want to do the accountability report first, Chair, before the study?
Yeah, maybe let's do accountability and study tour.
Thank you, Chair. We'll ask Margo to share, and Ms. Madalani will take us through the accountability report, Chair, if that's in order.
Thank you.
Thank you, Margo. Good morning, members, and good morning, colleagues. Members, we are now dealing with the committee's accountability report. The report is put together to highlight the committee's activities through the year. It covers the period from July 2025 to June 2026. Before I start going through the report, if you look at the period that we're covering, I think as a committee, we may need to consider aligning this period to the financial year because most reports, they go according to the financial year, which is April to March of each financial year. The reason the report covers July and June is because the report was started when the 7th Parliament started. The committee in the 7th Parliament started its work from July of 2024. So this is the second report. So the first report then covered July to June, and this second report also followed that time period. But the proposal up front before we even go to the report is that the next report covers the term of the financial year, which would be April 2026 to March 2027. I'll do highlights of the report, Chair, with your permission, rather than going line by line of the report, starting with your introduction. I think in the introduction of the report, the highlight of that is that it just highlights the role of Parliament as outlined in the Constitution, as well as the role of the committee itself, particularly with respect to the rules of the National Assembly. And then we can go down, Margo. I think the next part of that introduction highlights what the committee oversees. We oversee the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, its entities, as well as the BE Commission as the trading entity of that department, as well as highlights legislation, pieces of legislation that we oversee. I think Margo, when she was presenting, highlighted some of the pieces of legislation, especially the ones that we've dealt with and the ones that we plan to deal with in the financial year. Then the purpose of the report, which I've already highlighted. Then the next section highlights the strategic priorities of Parliament. Whatever the committee does needs to be aligned to the strategic priorities of Parliament, of the 7th Parliament, which are aligned in the strategic plan of Parliament. The key priorities are oversight, enhancing the legislative process and public involvement, and improving public appointments and international agreements. I think with these three priorities, we will see the work of the committee that was going to be presented does align to these three priorities of Parliament. We can move down, Margo. I think that the report also speaks to the medium-term development plan. The reason there's emphasis on this is because the department that we oversee is responsible or is a leading department for ensuring inclusive economic growth and job creation, tackling poverty, as well as building a capable state. So the mandate of the department forms into feeding into those three priorities of the state. So that means the work of the committee should also be contributing to that. And notwithstanding the fact that the role of Parliament, what the role of Parliament is in contributing to that, which is mainly oversight. Then we go to the next section. I think it also speaks to the entities that we oversee. We can move Margot and the department, which is information that members are aware of. Then we can go to 3.1. 3.1 speaks to the membership of the committee. Members that are in the committee, you will see that we've got the appointment of members as well as meetings attended. It also highlights members that have moved to other committees because there's been movement in members. So you will see there's appointments and discharged. I think we can move Margot. All the members are highlighted there. Then we go to the main section of the report, which is the committee activities. This section is the main part of the report. It highlights the activities of the year. 4.1 speaks to budgetary oversight, which is the main work of the committee. Given the budget that is allocated to the department and the plans that are highlighted in the strategic plan, the committee is required to oversee that budget. So the committee on a quarterly basis would see the department for its performance, as well as see the entities on a regular basis based on the determination that has been made, as well as I think when Marco was presenting, highlighted the challenges we'd have in seeing all the entities all the time. However, where the committee has decided and where we can, we see the entities on a regular basis. But the department, we are required to see it on a quarterly basis. As part of the budgetary oversight, we're required to develop the budget vote report, as well as oversee the department in terms of the annual report. So these are the activities that we have done. I think the key issues that have been highlighted in our engagements in terms of budgetary oversight of both the department and the entities are the ongoing fiscal constraints, which are affecting both our department as well as our entities. I think these the fiscal constraints continue to be highlighted whenever we have engagements. I think more recently they were highlighted in the colloquium, and the impact or the possible impact on the department and entities. Another thing that was highlighted, that continues to be highlighted, is the emphasis on service delivery, and as well as the mandate of the DTIC group. Then another thing that has been important in the term that is being observed is corrective measures, transparency reporting, as well as in strengthening institutional capacity. I think as latest as yesterday, we were discussing capacity constraints that are evident in the department and in some entities. So that's also an issue that has been coming up. I think also governance issues of vacancies. While some of these issues had been resolved, there are areas where these issues remain. And this is an important issue that the committee should continue to oversee. Then the last issue has been coordination and harmonization between DTIC and other government departments. I think earlier I mentioned that the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition is a leading department in facilitating economic growth and transformation and that's such a mandate. However, the Department of Trade and Industry is dependent on other departments to coordinate certain areas. For example, in terms of logistical infrastructure, energy. So the area of coordination and harmonization has always been emphasized by the committee, and it continues to be emphasized, as is evident to recent meetings. Then we move to the table, please. The table just highlights the committee activities in which entities we've seen, for example, for budget, for annual performance plans. We've seen the DTIC, the ECIC, the IDC, ITAC, NEF, NGB, NLC, NRCS, and SANUS. I think these align members to the plan that we've had before. When Margot was presenting the APP, not the current APP, the previous APP, when we started the term last year, as a committee, we had decided to see these entities. So this report sort of aligns to the report that Margot had presented, the same report, but in the previous financial year. We can move, Margot. Then we speak to quarterly reports. I mentioned that we do need to oversee the department and entities quarterly. Then we did annual report. Then we did audit outcomes. If you'd remember, we had a meeting with the AG on the audit outcomes of the entities late last year, October last year, for audit outcomes. Thank you. Then we move to the next one. This section just highlights reports that the committee has produced that in line with the budgetary oversight. I think the detail of what the committee has done or recommended or has seen progress in, like I mentioned earlier, for example, in the area of governance and vacancies, the respective report will then have that information on how far the committee has gone or the department has gone and what the committee has overseen in those areas. Then we move to 4.2. 4.2 speaks to statutory appointments. The main thing we did in this area was the recommendation or the process to recommend the board chairperson of the NLC. This section highlights the committee process. We received CVs, shortlisted, called for public comments, interviewed, then made recommendations. Yes, I think we can move, Margot. It's just a highlight of the process itself that the committee has gone through. Similar here in terms of international agreements, members would remember that we got the agreement for the establishment of the African Export-Import Bank. So we dealt with that international agreement in line with the committee's role or Parliament's mandate for ratifying agreements. Then we can move, Margot, to the next section. In these areas, in this key oversight areas, we dealt with the issue of transformation fund. I think transformation has been a huge issue for our committee, particularly because of the issues that members have raised. Even in this meeting this morning, transformation has been highlighted as a key issue for our country, not only of our committee, for our country. So we tend to deal a lot with transformation in different meetings. But in this term, we dealt with the concept document for the Transformation Fund, in which members engaged extensively. We can move down, please, Margot. So the key issues that were raised in that engagement on the Transformation Fund is the establishment of effective governance and accountability structures, the involvement of the private sector, as well as integration of Black-owned businesses into the domestic and global value chains and markets. The issue of built-in monitoring and evaluation mechanisms was also highlighted. There's also the issue of coordinating support with various departments. I think these are alluded to before, given the mandate of the department and given the different roles of the entities as well as other government departments. We can move to 5.2. We also dealt with the issues of measures and acquisitions. Here we had an engagement with the Competition Commission. I think similarly here with the one above, our interest is economic transformation, advancing economic transformation. So the issue of measures and acquisition in relation to that was of concern or of importance to deal with as a committee. Can we move a bit down, Margot? In this regard, the committee made a number of proposals to the Competition Commission. I think this is one of the areas that we may need to follow up on because the committee has made proposals. We may, in the current financial year, consider engaging the Competition Commission again to see if there's been any progress in terms of these proposals. We can move, Margot. Then we dealt with the issue of data expiry in relation to consumer protection. I think this issue has been discussed in the committee, I think alluded to also this morning. In this area, this is an area that led to, or the committee heard in this engagement that there were regulations that were going to be published, and they were later published in January. The committee had this engagement in the latter part of 2025. So this is an area that the committee had planned in the upcoming financial year or the current financial year to engage on, to get progress on that. But because of committee's changes, we have not had time to engage on this. And the chair mentioned it earlier that we do need to have a follow-up meeting. I'm mentioning these things, members, but as a secretariat, we have noted where we need to have follow-up engagements. We can move to 5.3.1, the trade relations. Thank you. As the Portfolio Committee on Trade, the area of trade is important, and particularly trade relations. So we have engaged the department on trade relations, particularly focusing on the African Continental Free Trade Area, our relations with the EU, as well as our relations with the US. I think a number of issues were also highlighted there, including CBAM and its impact on our exports, and our need to transition to renewable and greener technologies, tariffs and non-tariff barriers, mainly on agricultural goods, the review of AGOA, as well as exploring new markets and diversifying our exports. In relation to this, the committee has had also extensive engagement on the butterfly strategy. We can move to the next section, please. on engagements with the private sector or private stakeholders, I think the film and television sector engagement, which we had a follow-up on yesterday, has been one of the engagements. I won't go through that. It's quite recent. We can move, Margot, to the next one. We have also had the engagement with NAFCOC, which Mr. Chance or Mr. Gama mentioned earlier. The section highlights the engagements we've had with NAFCOC, the findings that we've had in that engagement, as well as the engagements we've had with the IDC in this regard. I think we can move, Margot. As part of our work as a committee on overseeing the department, we also have the master plans, which we need to oversee the implementation thereof. So we had done work with the steel and metal fabrication industry, as well as the next one, Margot, which is the automotive sector. Which there's also the sections also highlight the issues that had been raised, the automotive sector. Then we also had another one, the cannabis master plan. I think there's I've moved sections around. Then there's a cannabis master plan lower below, which would need to come up. Yes, that is 6.6, the cannabis master plan. I would need to move it up. Those are the three master plans. Then the section now, then we did the issue on the Island View precinct, which was a collaboration between our department, our committee, the committee on transport, mainly, as well as other committees later on in the engagement. We can move on, Margot, to the next one. I am going high level. So in the report that members would have received, they would have seen the section on oversight visits earlier on. But I have since moved sections. I apologize for that. But for the better flow of the report, I moved the oversight visits sections down. Here we highlight the oversight visits we've taken in the Western Cape, as well as the Eastern Cape. In the Western Cape, we did the Saldanha Freeport, as well as the Atlantis SEZ. Then in the Eastern Cape, further down, we've done Kucha, as well as the East London IDZ. Yeah, I think that's the next section then highlights the delegation for the oversights. Then the committee also undertook a study tour for which Mr. Hermans, when I'm done here, will speak about the report that came out of that study tour, which happened recently on the 29th of June to the 3rd of July this year. Thank you, Margot. We can move to the next one. That is the delegation. Then the next section is attendance by the executive, highlighting the minister, the two deputy ministers, and noting that the deputy minister Abrahams, we also noted the appointment that she was appointed later in the year in 2025. We can move, Margot, to I think we are moving now to the resolutions of the report. And in this section, as we normally do with concluding remarks as well as recommendations, we would encourage members to submit any resolutions that they would want included in this section. But two of the resolutions that have been included in this section is identifying priority areas for public participation and plan engagements with stakeholders. I think for 8.1, listening on the discussion that the committee has had this morning, members are already are doing that. There are a number of areas that the members have highlighted as areas where we can engage the public on as the committee. I think in the previous year, in the previous period or the term of this report, I think there has been the industrial strategy as well as the cannabis master plan, in which we engage stakeholders, the film and television, the steel sector, as well as automotive. So there has been quite an extensive public participation. But going forward, the committee should continue with public participation. When I was speaking earlier, I was about the priorities of Parliament. Public participation is one of the key priorities. Then on 8.2, identifying capacity building interventions in areas of economics, economic policy, industrial policy, competition policy, and other areas that members may propose to strengthen oversight and legislative capacity. I think these are this is a resolution that we are proposing. However, members would be welcome to suggest areas of capacity building. Thinking back, I try to think of when the committee has had capacity building. I think in 2019, the committee had capacity building where there was training with the Auditor General, because one of the things that we need to focus on is audit outcomes of the committee of the entities in the department. In 2019, there was a training by Auditor General where they trained the previous committee on the amendments to the Act, and that would affect how they audit or how the audit outcomes are highlighted of the entities. So a similar training may be possible, or in any other areas. I think we've also had trainings on trade beyond what we get from the department when we get because the department usually presents on trade negotiations, but a trade training would then focus on understanding trade terms, for example, or trade agreements and the like. Thank you, Chair. I think I'm done. I can give to Margot and Andre to add if there's anything I am missing. Thank you.
Nothing to add, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Andre?
Me, nothing to add, Chair. Shikwana covered everything, Chair.
Thank you very much, colleagues. As the team is saying, we did our first accountability report, which is more like our annual report that is linked to our APP on the things that we need to do. Now, here's a full report on giving full account of what we've been able to do and achieve. And it highlights all the areas. Can we then allow members to engage with the report? Omissions, addition, comments, whatever you want to say. Members, are you fine?
By ear, Chair.
It's a chance, Chair.
Honorable Chance.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thanks, Zakwanda, for the excellent presentation. I think, as usual, the committee secretariat has done an excellent job in documenting and summarizing the committee's work. Just because it happens to be on screen now, 8.2 does raise some interesting questions because, you know, the breadth of understanding that is required of the committee members in so many different areas, complex areas. I would suggest that maybe some of us may want to specialize in some of these areas of policy. And I think it's an excellent idea to have some capacity building interventions. So I would definitely support that. Maybe ask the Secretariat to come up with some concrete suggestions for courses or interventions that they have come across or that they think could be helpful. Short courses or things that members can join or become part of over the course of the next few months in the current financial year.
Thank you very much, Honorable Gama. I see your mic is open.
It was in anticipation because whenever I'm looking for this thing, it disappears, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity. I think the committee should commend itself because of the sheer volume of activity that it had. I think the volume of activity is impressive. So I think we should commend ourselves for all of these things, because I think we've performed particularly well. And as I said earlier, we've begun to move beyond just narrow departmental oversight. And we have increasingly asked political economic questions, which I think is important. Like on issues of the transformation fund, et cetera, that we dealt with, and the SEZs. So I think the approach also to measures by the committee is potentially groundbreaking. The recommendations that we've made are quite substantive. And I think that is quite significant. And we've opened ourselves to industry. The issues we've dealt with the steel industry, township businesses, etc. So my assessment is that procedurally we've been very strong and increasingly very strong in oversight activism and strategic economic leadership, increasingly, but probably not where we ought to be. But I think we're getting there. The question that we should ask ourselves going forward is what changed in the economy because of our interventions. So, but I think, as I've said this morning, that's probably the next stage of our evolution, and I'm going to try and do a step in terms of that going forward. There's an elephant in the South African economy. There's an elephant in our room. It's called mass unemployment. So our country faces mass unemployment. So the committee, therefore, should be asking every major industrial sector, how many jobs can each sector realistically create over 5, 10, 15 years? And what must government do to make that happen? And I think our colloquium last week began to look at some of these particularly important issues. So I think that therefore we should look at a quantified job creation forecast. We should look at things like the long-term manufacturing strategy. We should look at what kind of legislation needs to be initiated. And we could also strengthen our public participation. I think we've started there, and I think we could get a little bit better, therefore, as a result of that. So I think overall, Chair, it's a very good report in terms of sizing all of the work that we have done. But therefore, in measuring ourselves, we then need to begin to say, it's all very good what we have done. We could do a little bit more and improve and increase on our activism. But I think as a recorder of the activities, my sense is that we've done well. And she's also asked us to put in writing, I think, further recommendations in terms of conclusions. And I think we should, we will take that opportunity to do so. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Musikasi.
Thank you, Chairperson, for the opportunity. Let me also take this opportunity to say to the department, thank you for the report that you have been presenting. It's a very good report. I must also say the department has done its work, and also the committee members. We have done our work, and we really appreciate the hard work that we have been doing, all of us. One appreciate the work that has been done. And also, Chair, our responsibility is also now to ensure that those areas that we have not been addressed in future, we must look at them. But at the same time, we can see that most of the issues in the report, it reflects the issues that you have been discussing and making inputs on it. Therefore, I would like to say to the committee and also the officials, thank you very much for the work. Thank you, Chair.
Are there any further hands?
Ms. Nkosi, Chair, raise the hand.
Yeah. Yes, Honorable Nkosi.
Thanks, Chair. I just wanted to say, as one of the newest members on the committee, I would like to commend the chairperson and the members for the work that's reflected in this report. And it's clear that there's been a significant effort, commitment, and contribution from members, and that work comes through very strongly in the quality of the report that was presented to us today. What is particularly important, I think, now is to ensure that the excellence of the work of the committee then translates beyond these parliamentary processes and the reports into measurable economic outcomes for South Africa. As Member Gama has highlighted, the issue of unemployment and industry being a big contributor to turning around the economic situation of our country. Now, oversight must also ultimately be reflected in the increased investment, industrial growth, and support for those Black and local businesses, job creation, and all of that stuff. So this report, for me, demonstrates that the committee is engaging seriously with the challenges that are facing our economy. And I think that our next task must be to ensure that the interventions and recommendations that were made are implemented effectively, and that we constantly monitor the work that we do so that we can actually get tangible results for our economy and our country. So the quality of work should not only be ultimately measured by the strengths of this report, but by the changes that the report will assist us in bringing the real change to the economy. But overall, well done, and thank you so much. I think as a new member, I'm feeling very encouraged in the work that we do, and I hope that we'll continue to work really well and that the next report will be showing a much better or positioning us much better in terms of the work that we've contributed. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. Are there any further hands?
No
thank you
further
very-
hands, Chair.
No, thank you very much, colleagues. I think I must say that the picture is coming together. We are happy with some of the advances that are there. And of course, I think as the members are suggesting, we do need extraordinary work within our confines of oversight to really get to push certain things. If you look at the colloquium and how we've been able to really deal with substantive issues which can no longer be ignored by the executive, is one area that I think has greatly assisted us. So that leads me to a suggestion, perhaps which we must think about in the conclusion and recommendation, Zokwanda and the team, on perhaps having something similar, like the colloquium. It might be something else about just the growth plan for the Republic, because I don't think we've spent time deliberating on growth and what it means and how growth impacts many other things that we are talking about. It's one suggestion that I want to put on the table. And secondly, the issue of dealing with the cost of living. I followed the news of the new guy from the UK. Is literally having a national drive on the cost of living. And I don't think that we've really galvanized social partners, government, and everybody to really become the center to drive the issues of cost of living, because many of the things are in our forte as the department. So we might need to have a huge campaign around the cost of living, which we are going to put to the doorstep of the executive for them to be able to have a quality information that will help them to implement some of the tangible projects to ensure that we can deal with issues of cost of living. Directly into the reports, just to make sure that we don't create doubts even in our own minds. I just want to give you two examples which I consider powerful and very impactful in my view. We recently received a letter from the Minister of Transport indicating that after we intervened in October, remember, it was an emergency intervention. We had about 4 or 5 meetings at the time. But what has come out of those meetings with regard to the Island View terminal is that the minister has now signed and amended Section 79, which is going to enable 27.8% of Black emerging firms to now participate for the first time in 60 years. That would not have been impossible. That would not have been possible, if it was not the effort of the committee, the thoughtful process, and the vigor in which we pushed, including a joint committee of transport, of minerals, of energy, as well as defense. So we worked together tirelessly, and this is groundbreaking. We can only hope that the Black players will now take this opportunity and make the best out of it, so that when we look back as the 7th administration, we can then say that out of those meetings and engagement, there comes an opportunity where our people will now, on a continuous basis, be able to bring not less than 100 million of liters of petrol, diesel, and petroleum in the country. Something that would not have been imaginable for the next 25 years if we allowed the process to go through. So this is one major victory. We will release a statement, I think, by tomorrow, observing the letter of the minister, so that we can also conclude the report that we must submit to Parliament. Because we're waiting for the resolution between the industry and the minister. Now that they have resolved, we are happy to conclude our report. And I think that this is a major milestone that is attributed to the work of the committee. Secondly, the issue of dealing with the data expiry has been the major breakthrough, which is going to benefit our people who are miserable and who have been taken advantage of. We do believe that as soon as ICASA and the sector have interacted, they should come back to us so that we have a final issue to communicate to the people of South Africa on how this issue has been resolved and what does it mean for them, so that we can begin to make sure that there is maximum benefit in terms of all the issues that we are raising. We can go on and on with some of the examples that we can raise out of our work, just to demonstrate that even though we are performing oversight, as you say, Honorable Gam, we've gone an extra mile in ensuring that we get certain things done, put them on the table, push a particular agenda, which is developmental, and we have, and to a certain extent, achieve some of the positive issues that that must move us forward. So with those few words, colleagues, I want to suggest that we also note this report, and then give ourselves a time frame between now and probably Monday to draft concluding remarks and recommendations, and then we finalize the report at that point. But for now, just note the report as a true reflection of the things that we've gotten up to, and then commit to then submit those reports by Monday. And then when we meet, we'll just focus on the conclusion remarks and recommendation, and then we approve the report for distribution in the main. Can I just get a comment, or yes or no, on the process, and then we are able to move forward? Are we fine, colleagues?
Right, Chair.
Chair, Ms. Madalani raised her hand, Chair. Maybe she wants to comment on something, Chair.
Yes, you want to comment, Ms. Madeline?
Yes, Chair, I wanted to comment on your suggestion on concluding remarks and recommendations. Because this is a committee report and it's on the committee work, one of the things we spoke about is that it should rather be resolutions rather than recommendations, because it can't be a committee recommending to itself. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. So you'll help us with the framing.
We'll do.
We'll draft recommendations, colleagues. And then is Monday the better time to deal with the report?
Chair, in terms of in the committee,
Submission.
Submission Monday, perfect, Chair.
Okay. Then in our next meeting, just make sure it's a last item in the next
Yes.
meeting we're going to have. It's a last meeting so that we can just look into those resolutions and then we adopt the report.
Noted, Chair.
Thank you. Are we fine, colleagues? Can we move? Okay, let's go to the study tour.
Chair, we distributed the study tour report yesterday and requested members to have a look at, those members who were part of the study tour, to look at the report and submit comments. I know we submitted it late, so members may not have able to do a detailed look into the report. But Mark, if we can just share the report and we can take the committee through the report, Chair, quickly, if that's in order.
Yes, let's proceed.
Chair, we just, in terms of the report, we're not going to go into the substance, just the outline. We did the introduction, the why what was the purpose of the report, and Mark will just go down quickly. And that is just reflected. That 1.1 outlines the purpose of the report. Go down, Margo. The stakeholders visited, just stop there, visited the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, the Standing Committee, our counterpart in the National Diet. We visited the Japan External Trade Organization, which is similar to our Invest SA, the Japan Association for Corporate Executives, and we visited a number of companies, specifically Fukushima Hydrogen Energy Research Fuel, the Fourier Metal in, I'm not going to pronounce that, the Tosha Corporation, Sumitomo Rubber, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, HIHI Corporation. Go down, Margo. We have a 5-person delegation with 2 staff members accompanying the delegation. The outline of the report is provides an overview of the Japan's economic development. Secondly, we just describe our engagement with the companies in developing manufacturing and utilizing green hydrogen and efforts to decarbonize the operations and will contribute to the decarbonization of the economy. Thirdly, we provide key observations from the study visit. And fourthly, this list of people that we acknowledge, which we'll add. And then also the fifth last part will be the committee's recommendation to the Minister of Trade and Industry for consideration by the National Assembly. As point 2 indicated, it provides an overview of Japan's economic development and decarbonization. Our first engagement was with the South African Embassy in Japan, who provided us with the context for the Japan economy. If you go down, Margot. We captured that, and we also captured the engagement that the committee had with the embassy staff. It's quite a long session. It covers that. It deals with a number of points. Go down, Margot. The engagement captured the issues raised by members and the responses from the embassy there too. And it's a number of issues that were raised by members. Then we met with the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, who also provide us with the historical development of the industrial policy. If we go down, Margot. They talk about the GX strategy as well. Go down. The green transformations is reference to the GX strategy. It has evolved over several years through legislation, policy frameworks, and sustained consultation with the industry. We go down, Margot. They talk about green transformation financing. They informed the committee that the Japanese government had issued approximately 20 trillion yen in green transformation transition bonds, which, according to the Japanese government, were intended to leverage approximately 150 trillion yen in combined public and private investment to finance the GX strategy. Go down. To stop there, during this engagement, emphasis was given to Japan's green steel strategy, as according to METI, remains one of the most difficult industrial sectors to decarbonize. Iran. Then the GX strategy for regional development, then further informed the committee that the strategy is also intended to revitalize regional industrial clusters. The strategic zone initiatives include integration of power grids, data networks, provides regulatory reform, financial support for selected regions. And the government support is directed towards modernizing existing industrial zones through cleaner manufacturing processes, decarbonize industrial infrastructure, improve electricity networks, development of data centers outside Tokyo, and investment in regional industrial competitiveness. The next section captures the engagement that we had with METI and focus on funding mechanisms for emission reduction. Go down. Alignment of industrial policy priorities with fiscal policy. Japan's progress in terms of green steel production. Coordination of economic policy was an important matter raised. International pressure regarding decarbonization. Mineral beneficiation. Then we met with the Japan External Trade Organization. JETRO is a government-related organization that works to promote mutual trade and investment between Japan and the rest of the world. It was established in 1958 to promote Japan's export abroad. If you go down, we just outline the context of that. Just go down. Good now. We were briefed by the Vice President of JETRO. We had engagement in JETRO. We focused on clarity regarding JETRO's institutional role, JETRO's engagement in mechanism with other entities and stakeholders, operational matters affecting the Johannesburg office. It was raised during the engagement. Then we met Keizai Tokai. It's a Japanese Association of Corporate Executives. It's a private, non-profit, non-partisan organization that was founded in 1946 and is united by a common desire to contribute to the reconstructing Japan's economy. They solidifies its leadership role in improving the Japanese economic community and in seeking solutions for numerous domestic issues and ensuring the overall well-being of the Japanese society. This membership, they have 1,700 top executives from 1,200 corporations, all sharing the belief that they should be key players in formulating solutions for a broad range of political, economic, and social issues. Good on, Margo. Good on. Then we had a formal briefing from them, which is captured in 2.41. The engagement focused on partnership between government, business, and academia in the pursuit of industrialization, which is captured there. Then policy and regulatory measures to attract Japanese FDIs. Policy areas for South African government intervention, priority areas. The role of Parliament in strengthening the investment environment. Monopolization and value addition. Strengthening skills development in innovation system. South Africa's level of technological development. Possible cooperation in terms of emerging technologies between Japan and South Africa. The prominence of diverse Japanese conglomerates. Support for small, medium, and micro enterprises. And the relationship with South African business organizations. Those were the issues raised with the organization. Then we had a short meeting with our counterpart in the National Theatre of Japan, and we captured that in 2.5, that engagement. We go on, Margot. Then we started point 3, reflects the site visits in Japan. Our first engagement was with Fourier Metal. It's a company that specializes in the production of PMG-based products for industrial application with a focus of iridium and ruthenium. Go down. The engagement is captured in 3.1. We then after met with Fukushima Hydrogen Energy Research Field. If you go down. And the engagement is captured under that section. We met with Sumitomo Rubber. It's formerly the Dunlop Rubber Company. They produce tires for a variety of vehicles types, aluminum wheels, golf and tennis equipment, etc. The engagement is captured under 3.3. We met with the Toshu Corporation. It's a conglomerate involved in domestic trading and international trade across a range of sectors, including textiles, machinery, metals, minerals, energy, chemicals, food, general products, real estate, and information and communication technology. In terms of hydrogen, we just go down to the hydrogen. Toshu focuses on production of hydrogen and ammonia for use of fuels in power generation in industrial sectors. We also met with Toyota Sutru. It's a conglomerate operating across a range of sectors, including metal, mobility, circular economy, green infrastructure, healthcare, consumer product, and supply chain industry, among others. It was established in 1999. They have an Africa footprint and it's outlined in 3.5. We also met with Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. It was established in 1934 and a conglomerate engaged in production of energy systems, plant and infrastructure systems, logistics, terminal and drive systems, aircraft, defense and space systems and products. The engagement is captured under 3.6. We also met with the IHI Corporation. They specialize in resources, energy, and environment, industrial systems and general purpose machinery, aero engines, space and defense, and social infrastructure industries. Go down. The engagement is captured under 3.7. Chair, I'll take the members through the key observations, and there was a request that members can substitute or add to these things. Do you want me to take members through each point, Chair, or just saying that this is where it's captured?
No, let's go each point, and
Okay,
then
okay.
if we don't, if there's a comment, you will hear members will comment. If there's no comment, we pass.
Okay. The committee welcomed the engagement with the South African Embassy in Japan, which provided a comprehensive overview of Japan's economic development, industrial policy priorities, and decarbonization agenda, as well as the extent of bilateral cooperation between South Africa and Japan. It regarded the study visit as a valuable in deepening its understanding of the industrial policy approaches that had supported Japan's development as a globally competitive, industrial, and technologically advanced economy. Furthermore, the engagement illustrated that Japan's industrial development had been supported by long-term policy certainty, effective coordination across government, sustained cooperation between government, private sector, and academia, sustained investment in R&D, and the development of domestic technological and manufacturing capabilities. The committee was of the view that notwithstanding the different economic realities of South Africa and Japan, several lessons arising from the study visit were relevant to South Africa's industrial development. In particular, it noted the importance of aligning industrial policy with energy, infrastructure, fiscal, trade, investment, skills, and innovation policy. The Japanese government is committed to policy certainty, long-term planning, and the coordinated government intervention, which enables the mobilization of private capital through targeted public investment. The committee considered this approach together with the integration of key policies to clearly demonstrate the importance of policy certainty to facilitate long-term investment decisions by government, industry, and investors. It further noted the long-standing and multifaceted relationship between South Africa and Japan and recognized the considerable potential to deepen cooperation in trade, investment, industrial development, science and technology, critical minerals, agriculture, skills development, and the emerging green hydrogen economy. Notwithstanding the potential to deepen South Africa's trade investment relation with Japan, the committee expressed concern about the capacity constraint at the South African mission in Japan, particularly to prolong vacancies in key diplomatic and economic positions, given Japan's importance as a strategic trade and investment partner. The committee welcomed the engagement with METI on Japan's integrated approach to industrial development, energy security, and decarbonization with a coherent long-term policy framework. It noted that Japan's green transformation strategy sought to reconcile emissions reductions with economic growth, industrial competitiveness, and energy security supported by the alignment between industrial energy and fiscal policy. Furthermore, Japan has adopted a pragmatic approach to the continued use of fossil fuels during the transition towards a low-carbon economy, accompanied by its multi-pathway approach to energy transition and decarbonization. This allows for continued use of energy sources while commercially viable lower carbon alternatives were being developed and scaled up. The engagement further demonstrated that decarbonization was pursued through a phased and technologically neutral approach that sought to balance emission reduction with energy security, industrial competitiveness, and technological readiness. Rather than prematurely abandoning existing energy sources and associated infrastructure, Japan was investing in technologies aimed at progressively reducing their carbon intensity while developing commercially viable lower carbon alternatives. The committee observed that similarly, South Africa could not abandon fossil fuels prematurely before reliable and economically viable alternatives has been developed. In its view, it's critical to manage the energy transition in a manner that safeguards industrial capacity, employment, and economic competitiveness. In South Africa's transition should consider the country's energy requirements, industrial base, socioeconomic circumstances, and the availability of affordability of alternative technologies, while remaining aligned with its emission reduction commitments. It further recognized the importance of ensuring that South Africa's decarbonization policy support rather than undermine domestic industrialization, beneficiation, technological development, and the creation of a competitive local value chains. Committee also noted METI's emphasis that successful beneficiation depended on the development of commercially sustainable domestic value chains, supplier networks, technological capabilities, and a predictable investment environment. The committee acknowledged the role that JETRO played as an important institutional bridge between government and the private sector, and recognized its long-standing contribution to strengthening trade and investment relations between South Africa and Japan. It welcomed the strengthened cooperation between JETRO and Invest South Africa, and emphasized the importance of leveraging this relation to facilitate investment promotion, business-to-business partnerships, market access, and greater participation by South African companies in the Japanese market. The committee visit had also highlighted opportunities to increase in Japanese investment in South Africa, particularly in green hydrogen, advanced manufacturing, and other productive sectors of the economy. The committee welcomed the engagement with Keizai Dokai and recognized the important contribution that cooperation among government, business, and academia have made to Japan's economic and industrial development. It noted in particular the value of sustained collaboration around clearly defined national industrial priorities. This engagement reinforced the importance of policy certainty, regulatory predictability, reliable infrastructure, sound public finance, appropriate investment incentives, and long-term collaboration between public and private sector to create an enabling environment for productive and long-term investment. The committee noted the value of aligning education and skills development with industrial requirements and integrating small, medium, and micro enterprises into broader business partnerships and domestic industrial supply chains. The committee welcomed the engagement with the Japanese companies and noted how industrial development, technological innovation, research and development, and decarbonization were being incorporated into long-term corporate strategies and investment decisions. These engagements illustrated that the shift towards a lower carbon economy had significantly influenced investment, manufacturing processes, technological development, and the emergence of new industrial value chains. The committee further recognized that hydrogen and ammonia technology were still at different stages of technological and commercial maturity, with several applications still requiring government support, demonstrating projects, further cost reductions, and appropriate regulatory frameworks before large-scale commercialization could be achieved. In this regard, the committee was of the view that the development of South Africa's green hydrogen economy should follow a phased approach informed by technological readiness, commercial viability, and identifiable domestic and export demand. It further noted that an integrated value chain strategy covering production, transportation, storage, distribution, and end use would be required for the development of a sustained hydrogen economy. It was of the view that investment in hydrogen production alone would be insufficient without the concurrent development of the infrastructure, standards, regulatory framework, technologies, and market necessary to stimulate and sustain demand. The committee acknowledges the important role of government in fostering and enabling environment for emerging green economy industries. This will include long-term policy certainty, appropriate incentives, support for research and development, and demonstration projects, infrastructure investment, standardization, and measures aimed at reducing the cost differential between emerging low-carbon technologies and conventional alternatives. At the same time, the committee recognized the importance of leveraging private sector investment and technological capability to support the commercialization and expansion of these technologies. The committee regarded international standards and regulatory certainty as critical to facilitate the commercialization and cross-border trade of hydrogen, ammonia, and related technologies. Given South Africa's ambition to participate in emerging green hydrogen and ammonia markets, the committee was of the view that it would be critical that the country remains an active participant in the development of the relevant international standards, while ensuring that this domestic regulatory and standard architecture supported investment, innovation, and market expansion. The committee acknowledged that decarbonization presented South Africa both opportunities and challenges for industrial development. It was of the view that if South Africa positions itself to capture greater value domestically, then the energy transition has the potential to support the development of new industries, manufacturing capabilities, and supply chain, as illustrated by the engagement with the Japanese companies involved in hydrogen, ammonia, fuel cell, carbon capture, renewable energy, and advanced manufacturing. Against this backdrop, the committee highlighted the strategic importance of South Africa's mineral endowment, particularly in the platinum mineral groups, to emerging hydrogen, fuel cell, and advanced technology value chains. The engagement with Korea Metal highlighted the considerable value added through advanced refining, processing, recycling, the manufacture of specialized products from minerals originating from South Africa. To retain a greater share of value derived from South Africa's mineral resources within the domestic economy, the committee was of the view that it is important to strengthen domestic beneficiation, technological capabilities, research and development, and advanced manufacturing. The engagement further underscored the importance of resource efficiencies and circular economic principles in industrial development. The committee was of the view that the recycling of scarce and high-value materials presented opportunities for South Africa to complement primary mineral production with recycling, refining, and other high-value industrial activities. In particular, the engagement with Sumitomo Rubber Industries demonstrated how existing manufacturing facilities could decarbonize their operations while maintaining the primary productive activity. The integration of renewable energy and hydrogen production and use into an existing facility illustrate how decarbonization technologies could be incorporated into manufacturing processes while technologies and market continues to evolve. Similarly, the engagement with Itochu and Toyota further illustrated that the commercial viability of hydrogen and ammonia would depend on the development of you're moving, Margaret, so I was a bit off on the development of markets and demand alongside production capacity. The committee therefore acknowledged the significance of developing hydrogen ecosystems around specific applications, such as heavy-duty transportation, industrial use, power generation, and maritime transport, rather than developing production capacity in isolation from potential users. The committee welcomed the collaboration between the Itochu and High-5 Hydrogen South Africa in the Kuga Special Economic Zones, as well as the identification of South African ports as potentially important locations within future green fuel supply and bunkering networks. These initiatives highlighted South Africa's potential as a location for green hydrogen and ammonia production and related infrastructure. Committee was of the view that these developments demonstrated the potential for South Africa to position itself within emerging green value chains while also advancing its domestic industrial capabilities. Engaging with the Mitsubishi Heavy Industries and IHI Corporation highlighted the significance of ongoing investment in research, development, demonstration, and the commercialization of a range of decarbonization technologies, including hydrogen, ammonia, carbon capture, methanation, and advanced combustion technologies. Committee acknowledged that technology continues to evolve and that industrial policy should remain sufficiently flexible to adapt to technological and market developments while providing the long-term certainty required for investment. Those are the observations, Chair, that we produced and requested the committee to comment and add in addition. We did not, Chair, as part of the process, develop any recommendations. We thought after the group has read through the report, they will be able to formulate some recommendations that they can submit through you, Chair, to the committee, to us by Monday for the latest, Chair, so that we can incorporate it and submit it for final adoption at the next committee meeting, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Are there any comments from the members first, and then the delegation, and as well as the members, if there's any comments on the report? And then we have to be mindful that the conclusion and recommendation will still have to be submitted, and then we approve the report in our next engagement.
Mr. Chance, Chair?
Honorable Chance.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Thanks, Andre. I haven't read the full report, but I do intend to, and will submit recommendations and conclusions in time for Monday.
Thank you. Any other comment? Thank you. No comment. So we will add the recommendation and conclude the report so that it can be 80 seats. Thank you very much. We can now move to the minutes. Just introduce, and then if there is anything, and then we'll pick it up. What was the topic? Because there are many. We now have about 30 minutes to let's push as much as we can.
No problem, Chair. We'll just mention the highlight, the purpose of the meeting, and then.
Yes.
Yeah. Margot, the first one would be the 6th of March, if I'm correct. Margot, just getting it together.
Yes, Andre, I'm just getting my ducks in a row quick.
Yeah. Chair, our meeting on the 6th of March, we had a briefing by the department and the Department of Agriculture, Health on the roles in enabling the National Cannabis Master Plan. And we also had a briefing by H3 Legal Solution on the implementation of the National Cannabis Master Plan. We had a full complement of both the DA, the ANC, Umkhonto Sizwe, Economic Freedom Fighters in Qatar, where the full complement of the committee was in attendance, Chair. If you go down, Margot. One is just introduction, two captures the briefing by the department, DOA, DOH, a legal solution, and the discussion followed, Chair. The meeting concluded at 13:17 until the 10th of March, Chair.
Thank you very much. Can we get a move and second for the minutes of the 3rd of March?
6th of March.
The 6th of March.
Correct.
Can you get them? Yes, yes. Honorable Toby
Chance.
Chance? Yes, Honorable Chance.
I move, Chair.
Thank you very much. Seconder.
I second, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Let's move to the next item.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, the meeting on the 10th, we had a briefing by the National Consumer Tribunal and the Takeover Regulation Panel on the first, second, third quarter financial and non-financial performance for the financial year. We also considered minutes. We had full complement of the ANC. Mr. Chance was in attendance, Mr. Koza, Mr. Langa, Mr. Webster, Mr. String, and apologies from Mr. Gama, Mr. Mdluli, and at that time, Mr. Shinkila was subsequently passed. Then we go down, Margot. Introduction, and then we had the briefing by the NCT, followed by the discussion, and the meeting concluded.
Thank you very much. Can we get a move and seconder for the meeting of the 10th?
I'll move, Chair.
Thank you very much, Member Chance. Move. Seconder. Honorable members. Seconder for the meeting.
Seconded.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ms. Webster. Thank you very much. Let's move to the third one.
The meeting on the 11th, we had the briefing about the broad-based Black Economic Empowerment Commission and the Competition Tribunal on the first, second, and third quarter financial and non-financial performance. We had the full complement of the ANC in attendance. Mr. Chance, Mr. Gama, Mr. Koza, Mr. Langa, Mr. Roger Webster was in attendance. And then we had apologies from Mr. Mdluli, Mr. Njigila, Mr. Thring. Point 1 will capture the introduction, 2 the briefing, and 3 the discussion. And the meeting concluded at 6 until 11th of March.
Can we get a move and seconder for the meeting of the 11th of March?
I'll move, Chair.
Thank you very much. The seconder. Colleagues, is everyone still active in the meeting? I get a sense that we're not here.
They're all on the platform, Chair.
Yeah, but people might be logged on
I
and
will
they're not.
second again.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Let's move to the fourth one.
I'm here, Chair. I just have trouble finding the mute button.
No, just keep it open and then you come in. And then as
We're
long as
here, Chair. We're here.
Yeah, we're not hearing you when it matters the most, Kalum. Okay, then the fourth set of minutes.
The 13th of March, we had a briefing by the TIC, Health, Sports and Arts Culture on the Liquor Amendment Bill, Chair. We had a full complement of the ANC in attendance, Mr. Chance, Mr. Gama, full complement of the Economic Freedom Fighters in attendance. In Carter Freedom Party, we had apologies, Chair, and then we go down. We had introduction. And then we had the briefings by the different departments, Chair. And we had discussion in point 5. The meeting ended at 11:43 until the 24th of March, Chair.
Thank you very much. Can we get a move and seconder for the meeting of the 13th of March?
I move, Chair.
Thank you very much, Member Gama.
I
Seconder.
second, Chairperson.
The 24th of March, we had a briefing by the SIU and the NPA on developments in terms of the investigations and prosecutions in relation to alleged corruption and maladministration at the National Lotteries Commission. We had full complement. We had only apology of Mr. Nishinkila at the time. If we go down, Margot, introduction is number 1. Number 2, we have the briefing by the NPA. Go down, Margot. And if 3 followed by the discussion. And then the meeting concluded at 11:56 until the 25th of March, Chair.
Thank you very much. A move and seconder for the meeting of the 25th of March.
I move, Chair.
Ms.
Thank
Nkosi.
you. Ms. Ngosi moves. Seconder. Ms. Ngosi, you were not there actually. You
No.
can't move.
Yeah.
I need to.
I know.
Apologies for that.
I move,
Yes.
Chairperson.
Motlekaki.
Chair.
Yeah. Yes. Honorable Webster moves and then Honorable Msikasi second. Thank you. Apologies, Madam Ngosi.
The next set of minutes, Chair. It's the 25th, we had a briefing.
The next meeting?
25th of March, we had a briefing by SABS and the Competition Commission on the first, second, and third quarter financial and non-financial performance. Chair, we had the full complement of the ANC, DA, Mr. Gama was present, Mr. Koza, Ms.
Andre,
Chair?
we're not hearing you. If you can
Okay,
start from scratch.
my apologies. Go up, Margot. We had a briefing by the South Africans, by SABS and the Competition Commission on the first, second, and third quarter financial and non-financial performance for the 25-26 financial year. We had a full complement of the ANC and the Democratic Alliance. We had Mr. Gama, Mr. Koza, Mr. Webster, and the apologies as captured there, Chair. Then we go down, Margot, to one, is the introduction. Two reflects the briefing by the Bureau of Standards. And we captured the discussion, then the briefing by the Competition Commission, we captured the discussion as well, and then the meeting concluded at 13:29 until the 21st of April, should it be. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Those who were there, can we get a mover and seconder?
I move, Chair.
Thank you very much, Member Chance moves. Any seconder?
Ms. Webster's open mic.
Yeah,
I'll second.
I second. Okay.
Thank you very much, Member Gama,
Webster.
seconds. Thank you.
I'm trying to give others a chance, Andre.
Yeah, let's move. Okay, we are going through number 7.
21st of April, Chair, we had the briefing by the department on its budget vote, including its annual performance plan for the 2026 financial year, Chair. We had full complement of ANC and DA. Economic Freedom Parties were in attendance. IFP was in attendance. ACTP was in attendance. Go down. Margot. We had apologies from MK, Chair. And then we also go down, Margot. Number 1 is introduction. Number 2 is briefing, and then meeting adjourned until 34 because we had a detailed report adopted later in that same month, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you very much. The date is what, April?
21st of April.
21st April. Can we get a move and seconder from those who were there?
Chairperson, I move for the adoption of the report.
Thank you very much, seconder.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Member Chance second. The 8th minute.
It will be on the 28th of April. We had a briefing by the SANAS and National Regulator for Compulsory Specification on the annual performance plan. We have members in attendance. Go down, Margot. We had apologies from Mr. Garman and Ms. Webster. Number 1, we had an introduction. Then we had a briefing by SANAS where the deliberation followed. We have both SANAS and NRC. And then the committee concluded its business at 13:34 until Wednesday, the 29th.
Thank you very much. The meeting of the 21st of April.
28th, Chair.
28th April. Can we get a mover and seconder?
I'll move, Chair.
Mr.
Thank you very
Chance.
much. Mr. Chance move. Seconder.
I will second, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. We are moving to number 10 now? Or 9? Yes, the next one.
9.
Number 9, yes. No.
29th, the 29th of April. We had a briefing by the NEF and the Export Credit Insurance Corporation on the annual performance plan for 26-27 financial year. Members present, we had apology from Mr. Gama, Dr. Gigaba, Shaja Webster, and Chingila. We go down. 1, we had the introduction. 2, we had the briefing by both NEF and ECIC, followed by the deliberations. We go down. Meeting concluded at 13:11 until Tuesday, the 5th of May. Need a move in a second, Chair.
Yes, a move and seconder from those who were at the meeting.
I'll move, Chair.
Thank you very much. Seconder.
Chairperson, second.
Thank you very much. Let's move to the 10th sets of minutes.
Which is the 5th of May, Chair.
Okay. 5th of May.
Is a DTIC on trade relations and ongoing trade negotiations. And we also had the engagement with ITAC on their annual performance plan. We have members in attendance. We have apologies from Mr. Mkutu, Mr. Mdluli, and Mr. Nchingila. Point 1 captures the introduction. Point 2, Margot, captures the briefing by DTIC on trade relations, followed by ITAC, and 4 captures deliberations. And then we had concluded the meeting at 11:58 until the 6th of May, Chair.
Okay, can you get a move and seconder for the meeting of the 6th of May?
Move, Chair.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chance, move.
Seconded, Chair.
Mr. Gama, Chair.
Mr. Gama, seconds. Thank you very much. Let's move to the next one. Number 11.
It's the 6th of May. We had an engagement with IDC on the annual performance plan. We have apologies from Mr. Koza, Mr. Langa, Mr. Mdluri, Nchingila, Mr. Thring. Go down. 1 captures introduction to the briefing with the deliberations, and the meeting concluded at 13:24 until the 13th of May.
Thank you very much. The meeting of the 13th of May. Can you get a mover and seconder?
I move, Chair.
Thank you very much, Member Chance, move.
I second, Chair.
Thank you very much, Member Msikasi, second. Let's move to the 12th one.
The 13th of May, Chair.
The 13th of May, okay.
We had the formal consideration of the annual performance budget vote report, Chair, on the 13th of May. We had we had apologies from Mr. Mdluli, Nchingila, Mr. Firi, and Mr. Thring. Go down, Margo. We just had a formal consideration. We considered the conclusions and recommendations, Chair. And the meeting concluded at 12 o'clock until Wednesday, the 27th of May.
What's the date here?
The date is the 13th of May, Chair.
13th of May, yes. Can you get a mover for the meeting of the 13th of May?
Chair, I move.
Thank you very much, Madam Msikasi, move. Seconder?
I second, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chance, second. Yes, let's move on the
Chair.
number 13.
29th of May, Margo. We had a briefing by the department on the findings and recommendation of the TSU Protection Services report into allegations against the SAP's executives and board members, and the SAP on the its implementation of the recommendation of the TSU Protection Services report. We had apologies from Mr. Gama for that particular meeting, Chair.
Okay.
Go down. Then we had introduction. We had a briefing by DTIC and SAPS, and deliberations is captured from point 4 onwards. Then the meeting adjourned at 12:50 until the 2nd of June, Chair.
Thank you very much. Can we get a move and seconder for these minutes? From those who were in the meeting.
Mr.
I
Chance?
move, Chair.
Member Chance moves, seconder.
I second.
Thank you very much, Member Kigaba seconds. Thank you very much. Let's move to the next one.
It's the 2nd, Margot, of June. Here we go. We had a briefing by the department on the current status of implementation of the sugar industry value chain. And we also had the SASSA on the current status of implementation of the sugar industry value chain. We had, I think, go down, Margaret, and see if there's any apologies.
Looks like a full compliment.
Full complement.
Full compliment. Yes. Can we get a move and seconder?
I move,
I
Chair.
move, Chair.
Thank you. The member Gama, and then the second member is member Ghost, right?
Yes, Chair, I'll second.
Yeah, you are there now, I think. Perfect. Thank you. Let's move.
On the 3rd of June, we had engagement with SAP's chair and the Directorate of Priority Crime Investigation on its investigation of allegation of corruption maladministration at the National Lotteries Commission. We also had a state report from the NLC on consequence management and the costs associated with special investigation units investigation. We had also, I think, a full complement here, Chair. We go down. We had the introduction, we had deliberations, and the meeting concluded, go down, at 12:25 until the 9th of June, Chair.
No, thank you very much. Can we get a move and seconder? Members who were there.
I move, Chair.
Thank you, Member Msikasi moves. Seconder?
Second, Chair.
Member Kama second. Thank you very much. Let's move to the next one.
The next one is the 9th, Margot. We had engagement with the DTIC on unblocking obstacles to the development of the Atlantis Special Economic Zones and the Freeport Saldanha Industrial Development Zone. We had National Treasury as well as a briefing about the Western Cape Department of Economic Development and on the unblocking in this Atlantis SEZ and Freeport Saldanha IDZ. We also elected the acting chair at the time, Chair. Go down. Margot? Margot? Introductions in 1, Chair, and then we go down, Margot. We had the briefing by the DTIC in 2. Go down. And 3 by National Treasury, and 4 by Western Cape Government, and then the deliberations, and the meeting concluded at 12:25 on the 10th of June, Chair.
Thank you very much. Can we get a move and seconder?
I move, Chair.
Thank you, Member Gosi moves. Seconder?
I second, Chair.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kigaba seconds. Let's move to the next one.
The second last set of minutes, Chair, 10th of June. We have a briefing by DTIC on the status and on the implementation of the steel and metal fabrication master plan. We had also stakeholders, Chair. We had apology from Mr. Langa on that day. You go down, Margot. We had introduction, and 2, we had the input from the DTIC and stakeholders, Chair, different stakeholders, and the meeting concluded at 2 o'clock until Tuesday, the 26th of June should be.
Thank you. Can we get a move and seconder for the meeting of the 26th of June?
I move, Chairperson.
Thank you, Member Msikasi move. Seconder?
I'll second, Chair.
Thank you very much, Member Chance. Let's move to the next one.
The last set of minutes, Chair, is the 26th of June. We had the NGB and the National Notice Commission on the annual performance plan. We considered the committee's second quarter program and the status report on the international study visit that's prior to our departure. Go down, Margot. We had apology from Mr. Gama for that meeting. Then go down. We had the briefing in 2, that is deliberations in 3, and then go down. And then we adjourn on 20 to 1 until our next meeting. That date needs to be corrected, Chair. Thanks. At the bottom.
Thank you very much. Can we get a mover and seconder for our last minute?
I move,
Members?
Chair.
Mr.
Member
Chance?
Chance, Member Chance moves. Seconder?
I second, Chair.
Thank you, Member
Ms.
Msikatsi.
Motsikatsi.
Thank you
Chair,
so
just a
much.
small correction on my part. My initial is S, not N. Thanks.
Okay, if we can just correct that. Thank you. Thank you very much. So is that the conclusion of the minutes?
That's correct, Chair. That's all the minutes that we have.
No, thank you very much, colleagues. Let me take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you. We will do this from time to time where we are more administrative, focusing on our affairs, because we cannot just deal with everybody and we don't get our house in order. So we've dealt and updated our APP. We received our annual report, and now we've dealt with the minutes that were outstanding. Thank you very much to all the members. Thank the members of the media, the members of the public. This concludes this session of our business. Thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Long live the chair.
Long live the chair.
Recording stopped.